greet you with peace and welcome you here to Stanford Memorial Church. I'm Dean Tiffany Steinwert, and I have the pleasure of working for the Office for Religious and Spiritual Life that is hosting the 2023 Roger W. Heyns Lecture in Religion and Society. Established at Memorial Church in 1994, the Roger W. Heyns Lecture in Religion and Society focuses on the most pressing problems and challenges of religion and community. Roger Heyns, who was a member of Memorial Church, dedicated his life to higher education as an avenue for access and empowerment. During his career, Dr. Heyns crafted strategic institutional policies to expand and nurture underrepresented communities in higher education. He worked with student activists to find collaborative ways forward, and he served on various boards dedicated to economic and social empowerment. Heyns' life was spent at the forefront of social change, and it is in that spirit that tonight we invite Stanford alumna Kiran Gandhi, known by her stage name as Madame Gandhi, as our 2023 Roger W. Heyns Lecturer in Religion and Society. Kiran Gandhi is an award-winning artist and activist whose uplifting, percussive electronic music promotes positive messages about gender liberation and personal power. Each of her 3 studio albums, Voices, Visions, and Vibrations, have received critical acclaim, including a music video jury award at the South by Southwest Film Festival for Waiting for Me, and the New Wave Award at the 2021 Splice Awards. She's been listed as Forbes 30 Under 30 in music, and her 2020 TED Talk about conscious music consumption has been viewed over 1 million times. Gandhi's music arises from her fierce commitments to justice and freedom, using art as activism for gender equity, women's empowerment, and climate action. Once described as a scholarly musician and a musical scholar, Gandhi embodies the best of what we hope for students here at Stanford, as she, in her own words, strives to make music that is good for you. Her fusion of feminist and gender theory with music has created a new genre of electrofeminism. It challenges hierarchical and oppressive media images and social systems. While studying in Boston, Gandhi founded Music Minds, a think tank collective that brought together Berkeley, Harvard Business School, and MIT students together to discuss problems in the music industry. And in 2015, her story running the London Marathon, Free Bleeding to Combat Menstrual Stigma, went viral around the world. In recent years, she has been active in movements to end incarceration and has supported the LA-based Give a Beat Foundation that promotes music education among incarcerated populations. In fact, a portion of proceeds for all merchandise on her website goes directly to Give a Beat to support their work. With degrees in mathematics, political science, women's studies, business, and music science from Georgetown, Harvard, and Stanford, Madame Gandhi brings a depth of intellectual curiosity and vitality to her artistry and advocacy. Here at Stanford, she received a master's in music science and technology at Harvard, where she spent time in Antarctica, Stanford, and glaciers melting, creativity, awareness, and climate change. Now that is a long list of accolades. In fact, any one of these many accolades is a signal that she has arrived. But in the conversation, you will get to hear this evening. It becomes immediately
lit up. We're so excited to be here with you this evening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. So the plan this evening, if it's okay with you, is we're going to drop in a little 5-minute meditative moment to bring us all together in this gorgeous space, wash the day away, and celebrate this moment together. Then I'll take maybe 15-20 minutes to share my story, a brief lecture on this idea of using passion for purpose. Then I'm very excited to be joined again on stage by Dean Stanford for a Q&A around spirituality in the most wild sense of the word. We invite you to join us during that Q&A with your own questions. And then my band and I will play some songs for you. Does it sound good? So I invite you all to just take a moment and close your eyes. If you would like to, it feels yummy. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just another one. Inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. Yes. Last one, most audible sigh out, giving permission to your neighbor to do the same. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, yes! This is the most gorgeous natural reverb here in this memorial church. Wow, how lucky are you? I invite you to remember this morning when you first opened your eyes to start this day, Monday, January 30th, the only one we're ever going to get in 2023 and beyond. Where were you? What did it feel like? Was it tough to get out of bed this morning? Was it an easy one, up and after it? Was the alarm going off, so anyway we didn't have a choice? I invite you to reflect on the journey map of your day today. Where did you head? What did you do? What did you see? What did you learn? I invite you, keeping the eyes closed, as you walk through your day, reflecting on it, to take 3 moments of gratitude. 3 things that lit you up today. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that happened to me today. Maybe it was a phone call from a friend. Maybe it was running into somebody. Maybe it was a meal. Maybe something we learned. Maybe a big win. Maybe some movement. Take a moment for any 3 things that you feel just so grateful for today. Like, thank you. Awesome, what a life. As you hold those 3 in your heart, I'd invite you to take a moment to think of 3 positive words that you would like to affirm for yourself today. 3 positive words that you know yourself to be. Filling in the blanks of I am, and I am. I am radiant. I'm powerful. I'm intelligent. I'm wise. I'm kind. I'm hilarious. Take a moment to affirm any 3 words that you know yourself to be today. Stay with those 3 words. The more we practice this kindness to the self, this radical choice to be positive, the more we can show up with this life juice for others. Take a moment to affirm 3 words that you know that you are. Celebrate those words. And finally, you know, on the plane they say, flight attendants prepare for land. Before we land the plane and come back to Memorial Church, I invite you to think of the most childlike belly laughter of any 3 people in your life. I invite you to see them right in front of you, keeping the eyes closed. Maybe they're sitting next to you, metaphorically or literally. I invite you to envision the most childlike, pure, joyful laughter. Like, oh my God, what are you laughing about? This is hilarious. any three people in your life. See that joy for them now. Laugh with them. Take a moment. Allow their joy to light you up. Put a smile on your face. We send them this kindness today. The power of us holding this space together. Each of us in these pews on this Stanford campus, we send them that joy today. May you always be so joyful. May your sadness inspire greater space for more joy. We send those folks that we hold in our heart today some powerful love, yes? And slowly we land the plane. Gently open the eyes. Welcome back to Memorial Church, Monday evening. My name is Kiran, I perform as Madame Gandhi. And if you had any intention today, whatever is the thing that brought you, I see many friends in the audience, I also see new faces. Whatever is the spark of curiosity, the intention that brought you to this evening, please remember that. Maybe it's to dance, maybe it's to move, maybe it's to ask a question. Maybe you were thinking of something and hoping to get some inspiration. The thing is that we are here for you. The Office of Spiritual Life here in campus, myself, T. Steinberg, the team who put this on, my band, we are here for you. So let's co-create this evening together, okay? Make some noise if you're feeling all right. My name is Kiran. I grew up in New York City. I had two fairly traditional Indian parents. And I really loved music, okay? Is there anybody who's of South Asian origin in the audience? Please raise your hand. Okay, so here's the thing, you know, extracurriculars are cool. Music as an extracurricular to get you into the good schools, this is a yes, you know, but music as the main focus, this was a hard no, okay? So I love music. I grew up in New York City, and when I was like 5 in kindergarten, I had a bus driver, Harrison. Harrison was the best because in front of all of the parents, as he would pick us up, each of the kids, he would play the classical music station in front of the parents. But then as soon as we would drive away and the doors closed, he would turn it back to the hip-hop station. So we were like 5, 6 years old, New York City, turning up to Nas, Lauryn Hill, you know, it was like New York City rap in the 90s. Like, it was a great time. As a young person, I used to love movement, the melodies. I would listen to the lyrics. I would learn the lyrics from Nas. Like, he said that so fast, you know what to say, but I would learn it anyway. And I started to understand that music is just such a powerful opportunity for storytelling. Because the beats, the melodies, is opening us up to receive something, to soften us, to cater to our emotions, to receive something that otherwise maybe we would not have received. You can say this for so many different forms of art. For me, it was music that spoke to me. As I moved through my life, I would listen to different music, I would turn on the TV, I would watch music videos. But one thing I started to feel a bit conflicted about was that some of my favorite artists, when I'd watch music videos, any genre, whatever it was, I would always feel such a disconnect between the way that women and femmes were shown on the screen. So often, the way that we would be depicted would be in a way that is, of course, objectifying, that strips us of our power. I would feel like, man, the women in my life are so, like, multifaceted, diverse, queen energy, you know, goddess energy. Then I watched music videos and I'm like, there's such a disconnect in our culture. Why is that? Why is it so normalized? To this day, you know, I don't want to have to turn up to the sound of my own oppression. We out here in the gym, in the elevators, we're just driving by, we're listening to what's on the airwaves. And music and lyrics have such an opportunity to uplift, to affirm, to empower, to teach us something. We're listening to the same songs over and over again and consuming something. At the same time, music has the power to denigrate, to paint fantasies that don't serve us. We as the consumer have to be thoughtful about what it is that we're letting in, curating our own realities, truly, truly. Same as food, same as what it is that we're watching, all these different types of things. And so this idea of, I love music, not going anywhere, and I really feel like we could be using visual storytelling, music, art, to make the world a better place, make the world a more inclusive place, make the world a more radical place, a more loving place. This started to shape my early ideas of what it is that I'd want to do with my life. I remember when I started playing the drums, my dad was actually really encouraging. He was like, yeah, this is great, like, get you a drum set. You know, and somehow in New York City, like, it was fine, there were studios we could practice in. I was like, you're being very encouraging, like, this is suspicious. And then, as I mentioned earlier, truly, it's just sort of like he was like, this is a brilliant diversity check mark, you know, to get you into a good school. This is good, you know, this is excellent. My parents were very good about raising my brother and sister and I with a sense of giving back, give back, give back. You kids have been raised with a lot of privilege. You must always be giving back. And so, I remember when I was applying for college, one thing that I was encouraged was to go over to Georgetown in DC. Maybe there was an opportunity to give back in the government. Maybe there's an opportunity to give back in public service, this kind of thing. So I was majoring in political science. I remember I got this prestigious internship with the mayor's office of DC. If anyone knows anything about the mayor's office of DC, especially in that time, 2008, Mayor Fenty was the most corrupt mayor you could ever see. DC, Mayor Adrian Fenty, poor guy, corrupt mayor. And so ironic because as a student, we're so encouraged to find these like very prestigious things and on paper, get you the resume to then maybe go do the next thing. So I remember showing up to the internship and I'm like kind of bored. I feel like they're underutilizing our intelligence as college students, you know, but wow, like this is a real prestigious internship. One day when I was leaving the mayor's office, 2008, there was a big protest outside the mayor's office. And so I remember like, what are they protesting about? There's drummers protesting. And they were protesting the fact that the mayor was closing down a homeless shelter to make room for a bunch of condos, where it was very clear that he was pocketing a lot of the money that was being made from that choice. And so in that moment, really genuinely, I felt I'm on the wrong side of history. I don't want to be on this side to participate in this, you know, getting a prestigious something. I want to be on the side making change. This feels more authentic for me. So I remember like taking off my intern badge and putting it in my pocket and like taking off my blazer. I just sort of like went around the line and I started playing the drums with the drummers. Later that night, I was invited to go keep the protests and the work going. And I was invited to a show where different musicians would perform and speak. They would speak about how to organize, they would speak about where the next meeting was, they were speaking about how they really wanted to protect the Franklin shelter, or at the very least, ensure and create policy to have it be built somewhere else. I felt inspired by this. I said, wow, music is really this opportunity to create social change. And I was seeing it in so many different ways. Whether it's the lyrics that people are putting to uplift and to create consciousness, whether it's the very literal rebellious act of playing drums in protest. It was so inspiring to me. It was a wake-up moment for me. From then on, I said, listen, I want my life to be music. I don't need to do it as an extracurricular. I really believe that there's an opportunity here. When I graduated Georgetown, I ended up getting my first job outside of college at a record label called Interscope Records. Interestingly, I was a political science major, but I also had come into college with a lot of credits in math. My dad, again, like a South Asian flex, he was like, you should also be a math major. That'll be useful. So I had the math major. And to his credit, he was right, because Interscope Records really needed like a digital analyst. Someone to look at all the numbers coming in from Spotify and YouTube, understand how it is that streaming can affect the marketing of the different artists signed to the label. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, at the very least, this job is empowering because I'm using a skill set that I have, and I'm working in the music industry to learn something. In the evenings, I would be playing with different bands in LA, I would be working on different creative projects with my drumming, and in the daytime, I was number crunching at this label. Even at the label, it was an opportunity because it was an internship at first. And I remember being like, all of these numbers coming in from Spotify, from YouTube, from Apple, 2011, streaming was not the level of importance that it is now. So it was an opportunity for me to show some kind of value by creating these analytical reports and eventually being hired as a full-time data analyst. So I felt grateful for that opportunity, and I was there for 2 years. Interscope is home to Kendrick Lamar, to Lady Gaga, to Lana Del Rey, all these incredible musicians who I love and respected. But at the same time, at this day job, I wasn't playing my music. I wasn't playing my own music. I was number crunching at a label. And more so, this is a label that puts out just plenty of sexist music. Plenty of music that can actually, create toxic thought patterns in our society, really. It's the stuff that's like being pumped through the airwaves with nobody thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I'm the one who has to sit there and listen to the music videos and analyze this. I'm like, I don't want to participate in this. I don't like this. I don't even respect this. I remember thinking maybe I can get a job higher on the music label side. Maybe I can influence the bands we sign. Maybe there's some value there. My boss at the time, Brooke Michael, and shouts out to women who mentor women, queer folks who mentor queer folks, all of that. She had gotten her MBA, and I felt very inspired by that. I thought, maybe there's an opportunity for me to also get an MBA so that I too can be of influence and ultimately be of service. So that was one side of me, this kind of like more formal business school, Georgetown side, staying in the industry. Then there's also, I just want to play my drums. At Interscope, there was an artist called MIA. Does anybody know this artist called MIA? Yeah, South Asian, British artist, incredible Grammy Award-winning artist, very radical in her views, very powerful. She also just put an album recently. And she was my favorite artist on Interscope. And I remember she'd come to a digital marketing meeting, and I was there in the room, like just as a young person, taking notes. And we had like a brown girl to brown girl moment. It was a nice moment. And then she left the meeting, and I just put my hand up in the meeting. I said, I've seen MIA's live show, and maybe she can use a drummer, okay? Maybe somebody brown, maybe somebody female, maybe somebody who looks the part, Just an idea. And the product marketing head at the label was like, oh, okay, why don't you send me some videos, and I'll pass it along to her. Why not? I was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. So we sent a bunch of the videos, they sent them to MIA, and MIA took everybody else on copy and responded directly to me, and the letter subject line was all capital letters, hi. And the body of the email was very simple. It was like, I love your drumming, thank you for this video. We're not thinking too much about the tour just yet, but my team will reach out when we do. So listen, that alone made my life. I printed it out, put it next to my drums in my studio. When one of your favorite artists validates your talent, you feel good. I was working on doing my MBA, I finished my GMAT, and ended up getting into Harvard Business School. So I'm getting ready to move out to Boston. I'm grateful for my time at the label. And then MIA's team does respond. And they're like, okay, great. We would love to have you on tour, and here are the dates. So it was like exactly the dates of the fall MIA tour were exactly the dates of the first semester at HBS. And so it's like, two very privileged opportunities, and yet Harvard Business School is like also the breeding ground of the capitalist patriarchy, Something that I would come to learn during my time there. So I remember looking at the dates, and I was like, actually most of these dates are on the weekend. Just maybe it's possible. So that's exactly what I did in my fall semester. I would go to class, and then like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go play Poland. The next weekend, UK, or the next weekend after that, Chile, Argentina, Mexico. It was an incredible time. It was an incredible time, and it was radically important for me to maintain clarity. Because they will say, but you're missing out on this on campus, you're missing out on that. But you have to know what is your intention. My intention is to be in the classroom, which I am, and my intention is to play my drums on a global stage and get better at what it is that I do. And to play with an artist who's pushing change forward in the world, who's making people think. And on a stage with all brown women, wow. How many projects have you seen that exist like that? Wow, radical, powerful, intelligent, interesting, at the very least, interesting, wow. And I also learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to put a show together, which I hope you will enjoy tonight as well, from having these kinds of experiences. You also learn time management. You also learn no FOMO, have to radically commit to what it is that you believe in with no one in your ear. It was an incredible time. My second year at business school, I felt far more depressed. I felt depressed. Also, so much of my identity was tied to this sense of being, you know, a drummer, on the road, busy, this kind of thing. I felt very, you know, imposter syndrome at business school. Was I really the diversity checkmark? This kind of feeling, all of the negative rhetoric sets in. I remember in winter of that second year, I saw a lot of the runners on the Charles River, okay? These are like the 6 a.m. types, okay? Hail, snow, rain, they still running. Wow, I wanna be like you. You so happy you out here running in the rain like that. What a life. I'm freezing in my bed. My Prius is buried in snow. So I started to run. I said, listen, this is amazing, because if you see something that inspires you, that lights you up, move towards it. Move towards it with brave curiosity. Move towards it with humility. Y'all be running 8-10 miles. I might be running 8-10 minutes. No problem. No one else needs to know I can Uber myself home. This is for me. This is not for you. So I used to go slowly. Soon, you know, week by week, month by month, I really felt proud. I felt proud because it built my confidence. I felt proud because it was me versus this thing that I had chosen to bring into my life. I felt proud because it's freezing and you out here like happy, you know, what a life, wow. Over time, I got ready to run the London Marathon. 2 friends of mine had invited me to join them out in London. I was winding down my time at business school. You know, Spotify was recruiting, YouTube Music was recruiting. I would go to these meetings, they'd be like, here's our beer pong table, you know, here's our like something game room, here's all these amazing benefits you have. I don't know, it didn't do it for me. I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested. And even though that's what I thought for sure, I'm gonna go work at Spotify after. I'd be so lucky to work at Spotify after. But when I would go, I have to be honest, it didn't light me up. What a nice life, and you pushing the whole music industry forward, but it didn't light me up. It wasn't authentic for me. The only thing I can think of was wanting to tour on my own project and write my own music. That was in the back of my mind. You want to go to Harvard Business School and be on the road as an independent musician, what on earth? But the truth is that good education, good intelligence, good passion, you can apply anything to anything, truly, truly. And in fact, one of my favorite things to do is to take one lesson that I've learned over here and apply it to a completely different context. It's so interesting, it's so empowering, it's so rich. Wow. I finished Harvard Business School, I arrived to the start of the London Marathon, and I realized I'm about to be on day 1 of my period. Now for those of you here in this beautiful memorial church who do not have a period, okay, let me tell you what you're not trying to do on day 1 of your cycle. It's go and run 26 miles, 42 kilometers, okay? You just wanna take it easy, okay? You're not trying to run your first marathon on day 1. Let me break it down. So like many of us who have been caught unprepared on our cycle, I started evaluating my options. Toilet paper quick fix, not suitable for 26 miles of running. I didn't have any of these products on me, a tampon, a pad. I didn't necessarily think they're good for that long of physical exercise either. I didn't really know what people do in this scenario because anytime that I had my cycle, I would just take a few days off running. It wasn't that deep. So I was like, listen, I would rather bleed freely and just run. And so that's exactly what I did. The more I ran, the more I thought, wow, this is quite a position of privilege to even run in this way. Millions of girls, women, children, people who bleed all around the world are not given this same opportunity, this same choice. And that stigma, the inability to speak comfortably and confidently about our own bodies, is one of the most effective forms of oppression. How dare you prevent us access to information about our own bodies? How dare you prevent us from celebrating the fact that women and folks who bleed all around the world every single day are doing incredible things despite the difficulties you may be facing on the inside. It's quite remarkable. So the more I ran, I said, yeah, this is amazing. This is punk rock, you know? And for anyone who felt like, you know, did you feel shame, this and that? I said, listen, why don't you come run 26 miles bleeding from anywhere, okay? Then we can have a conversation. It's deeply empowering. It's deeply powerful. And I understood the symbolism of running a marathon. I understood the radical symbolism of bleeding and running because it's such a source of empowerment, and it's not for anybody else, and it doesn't affect anybody else. When I crossed the finish line, I wrote about this story, and I wrote about how folks in my parents' home country of India, every single day, around 6th, 7th, 8th grade, whenever we start to bleed, we disproportionately lose access to our education because we're kept at home. It's a big, big issue. Folks who are incarcerated, folks who are unhoused, lacking access to products that allow us to experience our cycle each month with dignity. There's so much there. My own journey allowed me to also learn so much that I didn't already know. I wrote about all of this, and I published this article on my blog on Facebook, and I got like good 19, 20 likes, awesome, good job. And then a friend of mine who worked at a news policy company called Policy Mike actually reran the story. And then Australia picked it up, and then London picked it up, and then Nigeria picked it up, and then India picked it up, and then it was going viral and was trending on Facebook for days and days and days. I was on the BBC unexpectedly the next day talking about this story and really trying to point this experience to different companies who were already doing that work. Sometimes we have to go first. Sometimes we have to think critically. I don't know what other people do, but I'm just going to do this because this seems like what's right and appropriate for this moment. Sometimes when we're brave enough to go first without thinking about what everybody else is doing, miraculous things can happen. Miraculous connections can happen. Miraculous ideas can be shared. Wow. It takes enormous amounts of bravery for any of us. To this day, I also feel I have to analyze, wow, I really want to share this, but it's intimidating. It's not something that just you have forever. We have to be brave when we really believe in something. If there's anything that you take from this lecture, the thing that I want to share the most is optimize for your own joy. Optimize for your own joy so that you always have something to give. Optimize for your own excitement, what lights you up, so that you can always be in service. Is there an opportunity to take something that you're always going to be doing anyway because you love it and make somebody else's life just a little bit better? Last year, I graduated from Stanford CCRMA. So cool. I had always had this degree in my mind space. I always felt I had the wrong grad degree. I only had found out about CCRMA a few years ago. I said, what on earth? This is the coolest master's I've ever heard of in my life. Music, science, technology, what a life. No one even told me. I was so upset I had wasted my grad degree on the wrong thing, Then the pandemic hit. And once again, I have felt this sense of identity out the door. I was so used to, between 2015 when the marathon story went viral and 2020 during the pandemic, of traveling, touring, planes, excitement. I felt a lot of my identity connected to being on a stage. And in the pandemic, I felt very lonely. I was living in this loft in downtown LA. I felt so lonely. It was a very important time for me to take time for myself, to develop stronger spiritual practices, and work on some of the emotional residue that had not yet been looked at or healed. It was a difficult time, but important. Clean the channels so that you have something to give. And I spent a lot of time in nature. I started recording the sound of a pebble falling into a stream. I started recording the sound of twigs banging on each other, the sound of leaves rustling on bark, the sound of wind. And what I ended up doing was taking that raw organic sound material and making beats out of it. So the idea is, in the same way you might walk into a grocery store, say, is it vegan? Is it organic? Where does it come from, though? There's a Portlandia episode where they're ordering chicken, and they're like, but what's the chicken's name? What farm does it come from? They go to the farm, like, okay, I don't mind eating this chicken, okay. Where is the food sourced from? In the same way you might go into a grocery store aisle and say, where does the food come from? I'm interested in the same thesis, but applied to music. What if all of the beats, all of the electronics, the synthesizers, the drums, all of the sounds that you hear could be 100% organically sourced from nature? So not only the actual music that you're hearing, but the lyrics as well are good for you. Something worth consuming. Wow, that's music that I want to listen to. We have to.
I mean, listen, my last name is Gandhi. We have to be the change we want to see in the world, no? So this sparked an idea for me, and I released this pack on a website called Splice, called 100% Organically Sourced. And the idea was for all other producers and beat makers, instead of using normal kick drums and snares and all that are available online, what if you could use ones that were 100% made from nature? And that was the pack that won the New Wave Award in 2021. So off the back of that pack, that's what motivated me to apply to CCRMA. I wanted to learn how to build microphones. I wanted to take my own music technology practice further. And it could not have been a better home. The first month, I learned how to build underwater microphones. It was so inspiring to me. And in the spring quarter, I went out to Antarctica, the South Pole, and I started recording the sounds of glaciers melting underwater. Beautiful and tragic at the same time, sad. Tomorrow at the D School, if you're available, please join us 6 to 9 p.m. We're gonna present that project. It's gonna be a joy. And we're gonna set up a beat making station for you to play the Antarctica beats yourself, 6 to 9 tomorrow evening. And so once again, what if we can sample the sound of climate change to create empathy and awareness around climate action? How can we use music for good, for change, for something fresh, for something interesting? These are the projects that I'm passionate about. That project will be released in April. We're so excited. And so to wrap, before I'm joined by you, dearest Tiffany, it's really, the question is, how can I use whatever it is that is lighting me up in this moment, that is giving me joy, that is interesting to me at the very least, that is something that I want to do all the time? How can I use what I'm doing to make the world just a little bit more interesting, just a little bit better, to have positive impact? Is there a way to deliver joy to somebody else by delivering joy to myself? Is there a connection between nourishing ourselves so that we can nourish others? Because if we take care of ourselves, if we meet needs of joy, dancing, movement, sleep, water, eating right, the spirit is happy, the spirit is healthy, the spirit is with life. All of the small things affect us less, and we have something to give. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's a real pleasure to have you, and we'll kick it off to the Q&A. Thank you.
Kiran, thank you so much for that story. The way that you shared, even a place to put her. Thanks. I was struck at the beginning as you were talking about music, and you said music is like storytelling, and that it has this power to open us up, to soften us, to receive something. And I thought, if you exchange the word music for spirituality, it might be very similar. And I'm wondering, how you see that relationship between music and spirituality, and even activism and spirituality. You talked about spirituality in the widest sense of the word. I don't know how that resonates with you, if that feels similar, and how you might think about that connection.
Absolutely. In the most literal sense, I remember dating somebody in Jackson, Mississippi when I was going to work at Interscope. It was actually so fun because I would fly down to Jackson, Mississippi and have these incredible experiences where we would go to church on Sunday. And I never seen music like that. I never seen bands like that. I remember the message to this day from one of the pastors. He spoke about when we're stressed, when we're tense, the fist is closed, and we're not open to receive. We're not even noticing the blessings that are left and right in front of us. It's a simple shift in perspective. I thought this was so profound, and it's the simplest lesson, and I learned it over a decade ago because the band was popping and they had my full attention. Whatever the pastor has to say, I'm here, I'm listening. It's a yes. It doesn't matter what is the organized religion. In fact, it's important for us to be critical of things that have enormous amounts of power. Good, it only makes the practices better. But our own connection to nature, our own connection to source, this is for us. to walk as humans of integrity on the planet. Good, I'm here for that. In terms of spirituality, I really have to give my mother particular credit, because when she and my father split up, I watched how she developed a very deep connection with meditation on her own. She would do it in the morning and do it in the night. I'm like, Mom, wow, you've really never been so dedicated to anything. This is remarkable. You know, she would lay out her yoga mat. My brother was once in the hospital, he had meningitis. She still put her yoga mat in the nighttime to be there with him, but still do her meditation. I said, wow, there must be something. So I started my meditation practice. I won't miss a day. I will not miss a day, and the reason is that every time I meditate in the morning, a couple things happen. I'm just cleaning the dishes. You know, if you have a dish, has some leftover sticky something, you're not gonna eat dinner in the same dish the next day. No, you're gonna wash the dish so that you can sit with dignity and eat your food. For me, meditation has been the same experience. The washing of the mind, clean the mind, so that old expired thoughts can be released and new, fresh ideas and possibilities can be encouraged. Wow. Meditation also makes me more aware, more present. When I'm moody, when I'm rude to somebody, I notice. I'll say, Kiran, maybe we have to, take ourselves home today. We're a little tired, okay? The meditation allows me to have greater awareness. And then finally, because I don't want to spend so much time talking about this, but it's the topic of all topics. Mahatma Gandhi used to say, someone asked Mahatma Gandhi, but I have so much to do today. I'm too busy to meditate. Can't you understand? I'm not like you, You just sit around all day, activist. I have real things to get done. He said, listen, if I have twice as many things to do today, I have to meditate for twice as long. If I have twice as many things to do today, I have to meditate for twice as long. Because I want to bring precision to those things. I want to bring clarity. I want to bring calmness. And I don't want to be so connected and in the emotion of the thing that I'm paralyzed with my decision making. Instead, I want to have a healthy amount of discernment, a healthy amount of distance. I want to be the observer. I want to come with calm confidence and lead with clarity. So for me, absolutely, music and spirituality are one, hand in hand.
You talk a lot about having this sense of clarity and groundedness, and yet you do so in an environment that does not invite or value that in many instances. And I think, as you were talking about the person who came to Gandhi to ask that question, like all of us feel like we got too many things to do, and the world does not value that taking a step back. And you've talked about, what it is like to be the brave first one. And so I'm wondering, what it is for you that helps you to maintain this practice. How do you step into that sense of brave curiosity to do all of these first, whether it was first in your family or first here? How do you ground yourself in an environment that often doesn't value that?
Does anybody enjoy the feeling of anxiety? Do you enjoy it? Is it a nice, happy feeling? Does it light you up? Some people are like, yeah, it motivates me. I'm anxious, that's why I went to the gym. For me, anxiety is like a knot in my belly. I feel drained. It's as if, in the Apple iPhone, all of the apps are running in the background, and you're like, it's only 10 a.m., why is the battery already dead? Like this is anxiety. Draining me. How can I give my best? How can I show up with positivity, let alone niceness? No way. I'm rude, oversensitive, privately crying in the bathroom, Pisces style. I don't want to walk like this, no. I know what I felt like when I feel lit up, when I feel happy, when I buy a matcha from the barista and I give him nice energy and he tells me he likes my outfit. That's a nice day. Thank you. You made me feel pretty. I appreciate that. Why? Because I've given myself what I need. I'm walking and choosing that for myself because I don't want to feel upset. I know what it feels like to feel unhappy, to feel unloved, to feel unworthy, to participate in that negative cycle in my mind, especially when I've experienced the ability to deliver joy, the ability to make somebody else feel good. I want to optimize for being that light for others. So how can I be that light and walk with kindness, peacefulness, confidence, integrity? Have to make sure my own channels are clear. So because there is a desire for joyfulness, and there is a further desire to apply that joyfulness to something higher than myself, this is the reason for daily meditation. This is the reason for taking space for the self. This is the reason to walk with kindness. Every time that I am giving, I receive the positive energy back. It's such a clear, obvious give and take. I've been in relationships and the person's like, but I'm being so nice to you, or I'll do the same. I was like, but I was so nice to them. That's an ego. That's an egoic, I was nice to you, therefore, because I have an intention of receiving. No, that's not what we're talking about. I've done it all. I've experienced it all. It doesn't work. 3 days later, you resentful. You're like, but I was nice to you. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you joyful in your own energy. You are the love that you seek. You are the gift that you are seeking. You're it. Wow. So this is why I don't mind going first, because I see the value.
You talked a lot about meditation and that role of kind of helping you to gain clarity and open the channel, clean the channel. When we talked before, you also talked about a recent commitment or a changed relationship that you had with substances, and I'm wondering if you wanted to share that a little bit.
Yes, I love this question. My grandmother is Irish, my family is Indian. I just got back from Dubai where we had our annual Christmas celebration. Everyone's drinking, everyone's partying, everyone's having the best time. And for me, it's been a few years now, no alcohol. I let it go. I let it go. I just made the decision like, boom, it's time. You will see my journals from like 2012, 2013. I'd be like, no coffee, no alcohol, no meat, no dairy, no gluten, none of the things, you know, that hold us back. Like I want clear channels, ninja status. No acidic, you know. It's very difficult. What on earth? What a list. I would do it for like 1 month and be like, yes, I'm living my best life, and then boom, go back, you know. We're musicians. All they give us is the beer tickets at the end of the night, you know. 2015, 2016, 2017, when you're running marathons, I run 6 marathons, so you really have to keep what it is that you're eating clean. But then I would always go back. And a little bit here or there in the beginning is fine. Oh, this is an expensive bottle of wine. This is a boutique craft beer. You're a musician. You probably smoke this and that. But I was like, I don't know if I like how I feel. And actually, when I'm in my happiest periods, I never want to touch any of the substances because I want to be fully clear for the joy, for the good thing. It's only when I'm feeling like a whatever, want to numb, want to escape, don't really care, then I don't mind to have these things. So then I was like, I want to optimize for the joy. And this is for me. We have plenty of alcoholism in my family. I see it. I see the fights. I've been on the other side of the fights. It doesn't make me feel good. It feels good to lead by example and lead subtly. I don't be out here on my Instagram putting, you know, sober, this and that. I don't waste my time with all that. You just walk the walk. And for me, it showed profound differences. When I feel depressed, when I feel upset, I've eliminated the option for me to have to take those substances. You end up having to sit in your own pain. Oh God. But then quicker results, quicker moving through the pain, quicker joyfulness on the other side. Rumi used to say, the deeper the pain, the greater of a well that you're digging for you to feel your own joy. Wow. When I feel sad, when I feel pain, I say, great, no problem. Whatever's on the other side, I'm strong enough for it. Fearless. So these are some of the reasons why I've chosen to let all the alcohol, let all the substances go. And my first journal entry was 2013. Now it's 2023. And it's only been a few years of those 5 things being eliminated from my life. So anything that you're calling in, trust that it's in the manifestation pipeline. Trust that you've put that intention and you will arrive there if that's what you want.
When we talked, you said you were eager to hear some questions from the audience, and we don't have time for many of them, but we have a mic down here front, and so if you have a question, I would encourage you, we probably have time for 2 or 3 questions, and so I'd invite you to just come to the mic and ask your question. Optimize your joy, be the brave first.
Lower it again for whoever comes next. You've spoken a lot about meditation and the role of spirituality in music. I'm a musician myself, and I get really excited when I see artists who are at the cutting edge bringing that forth into the mainstream. So I'm curious to hear, who do you see breaking molds in the music industry with bringing more spirituality, either subtly or really, powerfully into the space? And what do you see for yourself in that sense? How do you bring that in more explicitly into our eardrums so that we can really see that shift? Like, how close are we to that shift?
Thank you. What do you play?
I'm a saxophonist. That one right there, that big one.
Great. You know what was great was when you were asking, like, who are the folks in music who are really doing it right now? I'm like, yeah, black women. Like, black women. Janelle Monáe, Lizzo, the bravery, the taking up space, the living in the goddess energy. This is real leadership to me. Real awareness, real intelligence, talking about things that our youth are going through in a real and honest way. I think this is quite profound. I also was thinking during your question that the real way forward is not just on the part of the artists, but it's also on us as consumers. Really, really, really. My father, I went to visit him, he's in the Bahamas. He's teaching at Harvard Business School right now after I went there actually, and he's in the Bahamas as well, he splits his time. And when I visited him in the Bahamas, actually when I was doing Karma, because I wanted to record the sound of dolphins underwater in the Bahamas, so I visited him. And we're going to sleep, we're going good night, I love you. And he's like, I'm just gonna watch a little bit and then I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm like, oh cool, what are you watching? He's like, Narcos. I said, okay, listen, Papa, you can watch whatever you want, but you watching all of this before you go to sleep. And he complains to me, he's like, I take my parents both, they're hilarious. I take these CBD gummies to fall asleep, I take this to fall asleep, but don't worry, it's natural, it's vegan, I'm like, Papa, we have to be thoughtful and aware. You may not see a direct connection. Maybe your dreams are not about Narcos. But we have the opportunity to curate the way we want to walk, to curate our own mental health, to curate the things that we are choosing to invite into our space, into our mind, into our aura. What lyrics are you listening to? What are you dancing to when you're at the gym? Listen, we all want to get down, we all want to have fun. At the same time, human beings are far more sensitive than we give ourselves credit for. So, I think it's also on the part of the consumer. The more we say, listen, I want to show up for the concert that's talking about this, this, and this, rather than the concert that's, promoting the obvious stuff to keep us just a little bit low vibrational, then we all choose consciousness as a consumer body. So that's where I think we can make change in the music industry. And Spotify and all that, it's all data-driven now. So literally what you're listening to is being noticed. Everyone's listening to the meditation playlist these days. I know we have to shift gears to another student, but I will say I had a friend, he's a producer, he's like, bro, I just make meditation beats. And I'm like, oh, why? He's like, because everyone's meditating these days. Free streams. People are just running that stuff for hours and hours. They taking sound baths, they meditating to crystals. It's so much money, it's a cash cow right now. It's hilarious. But it doesn't matter, it's okay. I'm happy to see value being driven towards something that is good for us. I don't mind paying value to buy something that is good for me. I'm okay with that because ultimately we are all choosing to live in a capitalist society. So we have to participate. We have to choose where we navigate and send the forces. So my answers are long. Are you mad at me?
No, I'm not mad at you at all. We could do this all night, but I know people do want to hear music. We have time for probably one or two more questions.
Our
so
set
folks...
is only 30. Maybe.
Okay, yeah, great. We can keep going.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Abby. I go to Castellea, and I remember you speaking at our school, and I thought it was just such an amazing, really inspiring talk, so that's what motivated me to come to this event today, and I'm really glad I did. So I was wondering, what advice would you give for more younger audiences who are looking to take baby steps in making change in the world, and what steps can we take to become more involved in activism and things that help inspire other people?
Yes, what a great question. Can we give a round of applause to Abby?
One thing that excites me about our younger generations is, of course, blessing and a curse, but we're all so much more online. The younger generation, Gen Z, is way more on TikTok, on Instagram, consuming. We have access to cell phones. The younger generation is seeing so many things that my generation was not. So on the one hand, it's like, anxiety, you 11, where did you learn this word from? You fine, you know, my goodness. On the other hand, it's like, wow, the young people are having incredible conversations about things that matter to them. We're sharing information at a level that's never been experienced before. Wow. So one thing that came to mind is the same things that upset us, our greatest pain is our greatest fuel. Our greatest sorrow is the very thing that we hope no one else experiences. When I was in high school, I was very bullied. My family and I, we had moved to India. I went to the same high school in New York City, same friends, all-girl private school on the Upper East Side. These were long past the days of Harrison and my funky school bus experiences. We moved to India, and when we came back, I was a different person, and I was very bullied. And so that same experience, our greatest pain, those moments motivated me to find my light and my power and my joy elsewhere, because I wasn't accepted in this group or that group. I wasn't invited to sit at the cool table. I didn't have the cool shoes at the time. I have them now. No, I'm just kidding. And so I remember feeling very excluded. But as a result of that, I learned the drums. As a result of that, I had all the free time to learn my DJing in downtown New York City. I wasn't invited to anything, so I had time to practice the cool stuff. I invested in my own skill sets as a result of that pain because I wanted to feel joy. And also, kindness is extremely important to me. Tenderness, honey, nectar, sweetness. I love you, because I would never want someone else to experience that feeling of meanness, of bullying, of me made to feel small. No, I want to walk with energy that uplifts those around me. And so when I think of the young people too, you know, sometimes we're very mean to each other. And I think it's okay for us to take some time apart to invest in our own skill sets, invest in our own joy. And so to the young people, that's what I say. Find time to nourish things that light you up, trying different extracurriculars, gymnastics, running, music, art, creating, graphic design, whatever it is. Because the more we invest in ourselves, the more we have something to give. And then online, paying attention to what are the conversations that are interesting to you? What are certain things that you've experienced that are painful for you that maybe you want to be able to give to somebody else? And how can you connect them? Use your passion for purpose. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi. You're the coolest. Thank you so much. And thank you for hosting this. My name is Rana. My family is from Iran. And there's just like the women revolution happening right now out there. And on one hand, everyone is like so excited for change. But on the other hand, the violence and the torture and the rape of women are just building up more and more. And on one hand, you know, staying sensitive and staying open and receiving that information is important. But then on the other hand, you start to see that it's hurting so much to even listen to these stories. And it's like the least you can do. And so I'm wondering how you balance the consumption of information, because this isn't the only story. It's the one that's personally hurting me, but we all are connected to something that's really painful that's happening. So I'm curious about your take on that. Thank you for this.
I have so many thoughts on this. I remember when the marathon story went viral as well. People all over the world were messaging me. Violent stories, tragic stories, stories of witnessing death because young girls had been left abandoned in menstruation spaces without access to water or to food, or being exposed to violent situations. It was an experience that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to be told the walk of life of so many tragic and horrific violence experienced all over the world. And similarly to you, I felt very depressed. I felt like my energy down. I felt heavy. I felt sad. I felt demotivated. I also felt, what is my, like, you feel powerless. Then I had to think, does this vibration that I'm feeling, does this allow me to walk in service? No. What it's allowing is for a vast space of empathy, a vast space of education, a vast space of awareness. So this is where news media and information of what's happening around the world is very important. The more I spend time abroad, the more I'm like, America only knows about America. This is wild. You go to London, you see what's, the rest of the world. PST especially, I love us. I've been in California 12 years, but we are in a relevant time zone, okay? We barely waking up, the whole rest of the world done a million things already. Really, really, we so far away. So we actually have to put more effort to be global thinkers, global awareness, absolutely. I think some distance and curation from the news media is also important. Not because the information and the empathy is vital, but because the way news is shared has a lot of chaos energy. It has a lot of sphere energy. If you think about it, coming from a place of inner peace, coming from a place of calm confidence, is so radical. It's so radical because everything is designed to keep us hectic, keep us monkey mind, keep us upset, keep us wild. When you have peace and you can walk with clarity, wow, it's hard to have that. It's like the new social currency. And so I share that because I think space allows us to have that hopefulness, that vibrancy that allows the world to be better. This is a more spiritual perspective. In practice, that happier, healthier headspace, that ability to know what's happening in the world and still have energy to give, allows for the action to happen. It allows for us to show up at local protests. I was at the London protest. I was motivated by seeing woman life freedom. I felt inspired by my Iranian brothers and sisters. It allows us to keep sharing on social media. It allows us to have the fuel to give the long-term duration that a movement like this would actually require. There's a reason why civil rights activists would go to church every Sunday and they wouldn't miss it without a week gone by. Because we need to refuel in order to have something to give. So I'm with you. It's a very difficult time. And it's not just a pop-up on social media, it's a long-term work. But one joy and one happy hope that I have right now is that social media, for all the toxicity that it brings, it's also showing so many sources of inspiration for each of us. And so I think social media has actually been one of the reasons why this revolution movement has happened at the time that it has, because we are open and seeing each other. So yes, I think some healthy space from the chaos allows us to keep the hope that is required for social justice. Final one, last question. Another. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, it's only part of a question. I watched your Tiny Desk on YouTube. It's fantastic. And listening to you speak right now, you're so far beyond the bell curve of what ordinary people do ordinarily. And yet I know that everybody here has some piece, some version of what you're showing us. And I wonder, when did you first, what was it that let you see in yourself what you're showing us right now? Was there like something that happened when you were a little kid? Did you have to wait until you were over 40? Not yet. So what was it?
I was like, it was the Spice Girls, don't you know? It was the Spice Girls. It's the Spice Girls. We didn't have anything until the Spice Girls. That was my first answer. I'm being playful, but I'm also being serious, which is representation. Representation was a big one. I think for me, a really big shift was when I learned how to play the drums. Because I felt so empowered and so seen. You a tiny girl with big curly hair and you playing these big drums that anatomically are meant for men. It's hilarious. Even to this day, the drums are more or less the same size. Even when I have these stands for my congas, the stands are like too tall, I felt empowered to sit at those drums though, like a throne. And I remember feeling small, unseen, and then when I would play the drums, seen, valued, celebrated. Nice to feel those things. And I don't want to only feel those things at a drum set. I want to feel those things by just being, by just existing. Because that's the ultimate truth. We are the love that we seek. We are the joy that we seek. This is the truth, really, really. There are so many times when I have been made to feel unloved, and I believe it, and it causes me anxiety. I'm feeling upset, sad. And then when I soften, I'm like, no, we're loved. You get to be the love that you are and give it to other people. It's a empowering feeling because you don't need anything from anybody else. When I'm in my partnerships, my relationship, this is where it comes out the most. Is anybody in partnership? Raise your hand. Yes. The thing with partnership is we're so close emotionally that the wounds show up quick. The wounds show up quick. You were so mean to me, you said this, you said that. But the real truth is that if you have a wound, whether it's this person pushing up on the wound and hurting you or the next person, it's our job to identify where did this pain come from. Whether it's our love or the next person, the wound will keep showing up in different ways until we work on that healing process. And so, yes, it was my drumming, but I'm on the journey.
Kiran, thank you so much. I really do feel like all of us could just sit here forever and have you talk to us about this. But we want to hear the music. And tomorrow, if you want to join Madame Gandhi in meditation, we will meditate together tomorrow at 8 a.m. right here in this sacred space. And so we invite students to come here for meditation tomorrow at 8 a.m. and to play the beats, the 100% organically sourced beats. Antarctica beats tomorrow, 6 to 9 p.m. at the D School, and you can find more information online. Again, we are just so grateful. This is exactly what we want to do with the Heyns Lecture, is to bring together these conversations, vital conversations that not only highlight the work that you are doing, but allow us to be part of that and to take what you've offered to us and to optimize it for joy in our own life, and to figure out how do we clean our own channels, how do we gain clarity, how do we find what you have found for yourself and what you're continuing to seek on the journey as it unfolds. So thank you for that. It is a gift.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, and shall we hear some music?
So take a moment, stretch your legs, run to the bathroom, text all your friends to come, and we're gonna take 5-minute intermission, change over, and then the band will take the stage. Thank you all so, so much. Much love.